All right, so here we are on the TraineryLEARN platform. I am currently logged into one of our demo accounts. So my name is not Simon. My name is Matt Cross, as we said earlier. Um, but we're going to be walking through this platform as Simon so we can see what a user and administrator view looks like as they are approaching the TraineryLEARN platform. So as Mahesh mentioned, this is a cloud-based SaaS solution. So there's no on-site servers or maintenance to worry about. Our clients simply go to a website and log in order to access whichever modules they are subscribed to. Once the user logs in, they are greeted with this welcome homepage, which gives a lot of information pertaining to Trainery and to JER, including announcements and news, links to webinars, including today's webinar as we see, as well as information on already completed webinars and upcoming webinars. There's also handy resources like white papers and occasionally other sorts of forms that will pop up on here that can be of assistance. On the right-hand side, we see our applications, as Mahesh was describing earlier, where our clients are able to see on the right-hand side all of the modules, and then specifically under My Applications, which modules they are enrolled in. So we can see, as Mahesh described, the breakdown between the HCM piece and the TraineryLEARN. And we are going to be going through much of the TraineryLEARN section today. So with that, let's get started. We're going to click right here on our TraineryLEARN icon, which is going to load the user into a My Portal page. So this is their dashboard for their information and their learning, where they're able to see, of course, their profile information, a breakdown of their learning in terms of what modes of learning they have done through the platform. So we can see e-learning, on-site training, and virtual instructor-led training. The user also sees a schedule of upcoming events or assigned e-learning courses, so they can quickly click Start Now if they wanted to begin with those courses. They can see their course status, how many have completed, ongoing, and so on. Down here, they can also see a listing of their certificates. So if we switch over to our track credentials, one of the modules of TraineryLEARN, we can see that this person holds a PMP and a CAPM license that expired on, or will expire on the 25th of May. So he's got some training and certifications to do to keep that current. You can also see our recently completed courses down here, and of course a calendar view of any upcoming sessions that they are enrolled in. We'll look at some of the rest of the information as we move through, but for now, we're going to move on and look just at the navigation piece for the platform. So we have our left sidebar menu here that has our different homes. So we've got our organization, employees, the My Portal, the TraineryLEARN, then any of the human capital management pieces that they are also subscribed to will be a separate breakdown here. And then of course the reports. As the user is in any of these menus, they're taken to the sub menu where they have additional options, as you'll see as we go along, where we have our options along the top bar here, top here, we've got tabs underneath just to put everything in the appropriate category. There is also a very handy feature in the top right-hand corner. Not only does the user have the ability to sign out, change password, etc. from here, there is the help page where a user can visit to find frequently asked questions, video walkthroughs, and guides to help navigate and utilize the features of the TraineryLEARN platform and all of the individual modules contained. As Mahesh said earlier, one of the benefits of having a unified singular platform like this is the fact that there's no need to set up the organization and employees in multiple different softwares. You're able to set it and forget it, essentially. We set it up once in Trainery, and then anytime you have another module that you use or subscribe to, all of that organization information and employees information is carried over and utilized for all of the modules. So if we take a look at the organization, for example, we can see a dashboard for the organization that only the admins can see, but showing their subscription status for the different modules that they are enrolled in, as well as some user information and system utilization information at a glance. There's some other options along the top here, like their company profile, subscription status, but in the interest of time, we're going to skip through to some of the important parts, starting with the structure. So one of the great things about the Trainery platform is the flexibility to be able to essentially mirror your organization structure during setup and any time that you need to maintain. So we can see the breakdown here for this organization's hierarchy. We can see that they are divided into different entities. And then underneath each of these, we've got a tree here where we can see under Human Resources, the HR Admin Division, Comp and Benefits, Training and Development. And then we break down another level further for individual departments within those divisions. And I'm using the naming entity, division, and department since those are the default choices in the application, but we give the flexibility to edit those labels on an individual customer client basis by using the edit level labels. So if, for instance, your organization is structured by region, state, city, you could rename those different levels here so that during the reports and all of the user information, it's appropriately labeled specific to your organization. Move on to the employees section, as this is the other of the two global settings for all of the modules. Under employees, we're greeted with another dashboard for information at a glance for our employees that would aggregate any information and all information that we've put in for the employee profiles, including things like employees by age, by gender, by type, location, departments. If we take a look here at our employee list, we're going to see a grid view of all of the employees for this organization. Now, we won't get too specific into adding employees or anything, but we'll take a quick look at what the screen appears so you can see the data that can be entered. So by clicking Add New, we're taken to a screen where we can fill out information for a new employee. As you can see, there's a lot of information on here that can be collected for each individual employee. Not everything is mandatory, of course. In fact, really the only mandatory fields for creating new user profiles is going to be a first name, last name, email address, and then where in the organization do they live. All of the other information, though, is extremely useful and handy, especially if you're subscribed to some of the other modules or depending on your modules you're subscribed to. For instance, things like the job details, the job title, work roles, start date, years of service, all can come into play, especially with our HCM modules of Comp Builder, Job Builder, and our performance management platform, Review Cloud. We'll back out again to the employee list. And again, we're looking at all of our employees and their images here on the grid view. We also have a nice list view if you would prefer that view instead. So we can see just briefly information for employees, including their last login date, how they were uploaded, if they were manually created, or if they were imported either through a CSV or Excel file. And we're going to take a look at a couple of employees so we can see what these people look like. So let's go first to, I'm logged in as Simon, so we'll go in as Simon. So we can see Simon's individual employee profile here, where of course edits can be made if you were to move departments, change jobs, work roles, etc. But we've got a submenu of different options pertaining to Simon, so we can check out his learning section. So the learning section is going to give us, from the TraineryLEARN perspective, an overview and deep dive of this activity for Simon, where we can enroll him in different courses or check out what learning paths he's on and his credentials. Our landing page here is our learning records, which is going to collect all of the records of completion for various courses that he either attends in person, or if he attends a virtual instructor-led training or completes e-learning courses, he's going to receive a learning record as a proof of completion. We can take a look at courses and see for courses what in-person or virtual courses he is currently enrolled in. LMS courses is going to give us a list of e-learning courses that Simon is enrolled in. So we can see that Simon has a few that he's started, one he's completed, one not started. So we've got our handy graphs here. A nice feature as well is that the admin can reset progress. So if Simon needed to retake this course, we can simply reset the course and put him a new due date for him to take, so that when he logs in and goes to My Portal, he's going to see that pop up on his screen. We can also enroll Simon into new courses using our Add New button at the top right, which is going to be standard through really any of the pages where we need to add anything. We're going to see a blue icon and a white plus symbol. But this is going to open up all of the courses where we could just click and assign. One feature of our platform is a notification system. So there are email notifications that get sent out to users. Whenever a new user is created, they get a welcome email initially that's going to allow them the chance to create their password and finish their employee profile. They're also going to receive an email notification whenever they are enrolled in new courses. They're going to get an email that says, hey, you've got new courses in your library, please log in. We won't look at it today, but we can see there's even a tab for performance management, since we're keeping this pretty focused on TraineryLEARN and not our human capital management solutions. But I do want to point out that even the HCM modules will carry over to the individual employee records, so that we could see coaching and reviews as those are completed. Mahesh said earlier that you are allowed to manage the user roles and security settings within the platform, and this is one place where we can do that. So we're looking at specifically Simon here and the different roles that he has within the platform. Since TraineryOne is modular, there is no one role for everyone, so it could very well be that Simon, for instance, is an LMS admin, but not an admin for Review Cloud, our performance management platform. So there is a breakdown in different roles for access levels, so that maybe you don't necessarily want an LMS admin to see all of the sensitive HR related and annual review process related data. So you can segregate that by giving them a different role. Let's move on to our TraineryLEARN modules. So we open up our TraineryLEARN menu and we see a listing of different options. We're going to start from the top and work our way down, starting with courses. So we'll go to courses and we can see a listing of all of the courses with our filters here for language, modes, categories, etc. So if we were to open up, for instance, our modes, we can see our on-site training, e-learning training, and our instructor-led training. We wanted to filter this down to just e-learning courses. We can see that. Our on-site courses, we can see that. In fact, let's take a look at the on-site course here. We've got the Advanced Leadership Program, where we can see again, or if we needed to make edits to this course, we can do so from here. Any course content that we have would be available through here. And we can see a listing of users associated with this course. So in this case, this is an on-site training, so it's not like an e-learning course that's assigned and the user does whenever they can. The users do have to be scheduled, but we can see here that they were scheduled for 28th of April, just has not been marked as completed yet. They do have a session that was completed and marked on the 12th of May. Back to our courses, we can also take a look at one of our virtual instructor-led courses. Again, Advanced Leadership. We can see that there's a lot of users on this one, which gives us the listing and breakdown there. And finally, our e-learning courses that we have, we can take a quick look at one of those. We've got a conflict resolution here with 44 users. Again, the drill down that we can see and a listing of all of the users and their status, whether the course is ongoing or completed. Admin users are able to create new courses, again with the blue icon, white plus sign at the top right to add new, where they can create a new course, whether it be a on-site training, whether it be virtual instructor-led, or an e-learning course. You are able to create and upload new e-learning courses to the Trainery platform. So if, for instance, you've used a course authoring software and you have created a course through something like Articulate, you can wrap that as a SCORM file and upload that directly as an e-learning course within the platform so that you can assign that out through the LMS module that we'll take a look at. In fact, let's go ahead and go to that learning management system. Here we go, left side menu, LMS, which is going to take us to a dashboard specific to the e-learning training contained within the learning management system. Again, just quick information at a glance for this organization. We'll go to Learning Journey, which is going to be the real heart of the Trainery LMS platform. So our learning journey gives us, again, those learning records that we talked about on the individual employee level. This is going to aggregate all of those for all employees that have done specifically the LMS module training. So we can see the record breakdown here. And we see that there's been a couple that have been done in May, as well as completion certificates for those courses that have been completed. One feature of the learning management system and much of the TraineryLEARN modules is the ability to group courses in what's called a bundle. So we'll take a look at the course bundles here, and we see that there are a couple of bundles already created. So bundles can collect the courses so that an admin user doesn't have to manually go through and assign however many courses in leadership, we'll say, to each individual user. They're able to put these courses into this bundle titled Leadership, for example, and they can add new courses to this or add users as well. But that way, instead of going through 6 times and assigning each of these courses, the admin can just with a couple clicks assign the whole bundle of courses to the user. They can also, as a feature, set bundles as a recurring reset. So for things like annual required training or certificate-based training that has to be done at intervals, they can set those intervals through the recurring course reset so that the system even automates the reassignment and archiving of prior course completions. We can go back to Learning Journey because we're going to take a look next at the learning path, which is similar to a bundle, but gives a bit more flexibility in terms of how the courses are going to be assigned. So if we just only set up a bundle and assign the bundle, then all 6 of those leadership courses get assigned to the user all at once. We can, however, create a learning path, which allows the admin to set some more conditions on the individual course assignments. So we'll take a quick look at this. We see a dynamic due date option within the learning path, so that whenever a user is assigned a course within the learning path, a due date is automatically attributed to that user of 30 days after enrollment in this example. We can see a listing of the courses in this learning path so that we know this first course is going to be assigned to the user first. Once they complete this first course, then they're going to be enrolled in the second course. And since we've set up the dynamic due date option, they're going to have a 30-day due date on this. And obviously we can add new courses at any time to this learning path, and we can assign this learning path to individual users as we need. The last thing here to take a look at is the My Courses page, which for our regular end users is going to be the default landing page. After the My Portal, they have the link to the My Courses page. But this is going to show them a listing of their courses, starting with in progress, enrolled, and completed courses. So we will move on to our track learning, or track events here by selecting the events option to move on to the next module. So our events tracking and planning module allows the admin users to take those created on-site trainings or virtual instructor-led training courses that they've created and schedule those sessions, map out the logistics for sessions, including the location and any sort of handouts or materials that are needed can be assigned for the trainer to access through the course menu. But once we select this track series, we're landed on this dashboard that shows us, again, information at a glance, including the events that are currently scheduled with the number of attendees, how many have accepted, how many are pending, what date these events are scheduled to begin on, etc. We can also see sessions that are already scheduled for each individual course. So Foundations of Leadership is a course that currently has 3 different scheduled sessions for attendees to be scheduled for. Let's move to the Events tab, where we can see a listing of our events here on the Events Summary page. And we'll just take a quick look at one of these. We'll start with the New Employee Orientation, where we can see a listing of the various sessions for this new hire orientation. So we can see that there was one completed on May 5th, where we can click into and see what the course schedule was, what location this training was held, which trainer conducted this training. We can go to participants and see the number of attendees. Completion details, of course, just lets us know where in the course the user stands, what steps are needed for completion. In this case, it's a past event, so they're already completed. And the trainer is able to go in and close the event, sign off that people have attended the training, which we see has been done here. The users have been marked as completed. There's also a tab for training materials, where an admin or HR specialist is able to include whatever materials might be needed, like in this case, an employee handbook and a benefit descriptions, so that the trainer is able to just access this directly on site through logging in on the portal. And we can see our training logistics if there are any, so specific venue related information, notes for the trainer, discussion and feedback, documents needed by the venue, anything of that nature can be entered here so that it streamlines a lot of the logistics for managing these training sessions and events. Especially in organizations that may have multiple venues that they are doing this, not just one training location. Maybe there's something specific to each one, different hotel, different address, whichever. All of that can be attributed specifically to sessions so that the trainer assigned to that session has access to that information. We can also see an upcoming event just for comparison. So we have our new employee orientation. We've got an upcoming one on June 6th. So similar, but from here we could even add attendees. No one is currently enrolled in this course. We could add attendees. We could even copy from another event if it's something that the same attendees are going to be coming from. We can just select however many we would want and then save to go ahead and enroll these users in this session. We also have on our events a calendar view, so we're able to see what events are scheduled for which day within the month. And of course, we could filter that down if needed by trainer, by event, by location. And there's also a graph scheduler where we can see the different courses, what days they are assigned. We'll move on to trainers, where we can see a listing of the designated trainers for this organization, which the trainer may not necessarily be an admin. So someone who's not an admin can be set up as a trainer within the track series. Maybe they're the ones training or facilitating the course. And we even have the option for setting up external trainers. So for organizations that may use third-party vendors or consultants to facilitate training sessions, but they still want to have a tracked record within the Trainery platform, they can still set up those trainers as external trainers and give them limited access to be able to access things like the logistics and the documents and everything else, and to be able to go in and sign off on completion for attendees. If we were even to click into any of these, we can see more specific information for the trainer, like any events that this trainer is assigned currently, which we see Martin here has a few upcoming events, one ongoing that needs to be marked as completed, one completed, and 2 scheduled coming up, which of course we could click and link directly to that if we needed to make any edits or enter any notes, etc. Trainer details just gives us the information for the trainer, where we could even include what their professional certifications are, affiliations, which could be useful, especially if you're using a third-party vendor consultant, to be able to have that tracked record if needed. So the next thing we'll take a look at here in the track series is our administration, where the admin is able to set up the locations for their training. So we have 3 training locations within this organization, so that when we're creating events or creating sessions, we're able to attribute those to the appropriate location. So we're enrolling attendees in the correct thing. There's also the opportunity to set up work roles. So we can take a quick look here at the work roles that this organization is currently set up. If they needed to add new work roles, again, blue icon, white plus at the top right. But we can click into any of these to see more information. So this sales L2, for example, we can see any description, information, number of employees. If we look at courses, we can see what courses are associated with this role. So the roles can be attributed to specific courses, so you know that anyone with this role needs to take this training. In this case, we've got a couple virtual instructor-led trainings that employees in this role would need to complete or attend. We can see a listing of the employees that currently have this work role, and we could add new using the blue icon and the white plus at the top right. We can also take a look at any associated credentials. Now, this work role does not have any credentials as a sales role, but we looked earlier at our the PMP certification. You can attribute a PMP certification to a certain job role so that that's also tracked, and just streamlines that whole process of administering and tracking a lot easier. All right, moving on. In the interest of time, we're going to skip past some of the coaching for today and go straight to our credentials and ILT. Won't spend too much time in either, just to show exactly where those are. So on our credentials here, track credentials, we're able to see the dashboard of the different credentials, top 5 and how many associates hold these credentials, how many credentials are expiring. We can see a quick snapshot of credentials expiring within the next 12 months and the next 6 months, and the number of employees that hold credentials. We've got a credential summary here, which shows the 5 credentials that this organization has currently set up. And if we wanted to see all of our users that hold, for instance, a PMP, we can go here and click deeper to see more information. So for the PMP, we've got our details. We've got how long in months this is good for. Again, email notifications and reminders are sent out through the platform, so we can designate when those reminders are sent out and at what intervals. Any CPEs that are required, exams, etc., all of that can be filled in there. We can see a listing of employees that hold this certification. any courses that are assigned within the platform to this. So with something like a PMP where all that training's likely to be done externally, might not be any specific trainery courses assigned, but if there's certifications or licenses that are held internally, like for instance, even with safety, like a forklift driver, we could have associated courses with forklift driving that would be assigned to this role so that users that have the certification know that they need to complete that to maintain the certification. We can also see a listing of employee summary, which again is just going to show us the count of credentials by employee and any CPEs earned rather. Right, we're just going to move on here to settings just quickly to show there is a whole library of credentials preloaded just for different certifications that can be utilized. And of course, this is just the library that comes with it. This is sort of a free flow. The admin users are able to create the conditions for their licenses and certifications. They're not required to use anything from the credential library. Last thing to take a look at is going to be our instructor-led training section, where we're able to see a listing of upcoming scheduled virtual instructor-led training courses, which we currently in this organization do not have any upcoming, but we do have some that we recently completed. So we'll take a look at the previous ILT courses, which shows us that there were sessions completed back in April for 2 different courses. And we're able to see the information like the meeting ID and password, what platform. Currently, we are set up for a Zoom integration, and I'll show that briefly where that is set up, but Zoom can be utilized for the meetings. We're going to be also including Teams in the very near future so that the meetings can be set up through Teams. But we see that this event already occurred, so we can take a little more information, or take a look at a little more information. Let's take a look at who attended. So we can see that for this training, we had 2 attendees. Both of them accepted and attended. There's also a listing of the ILT records, which is going to be those learning records that we took a look at way back in the organization and employee sections. But this would just be a filtered look of ILT learning records. Course summary just shows a listing of the courses that are set up to be ILT courses. So if we took a look at this SAM LMS, for example, it's going to open up and allow us to edit or add to the course if we needed to, like if we needed to change the thumbnail image, or if we needed to add content to the course or add sessions in the event of a virtual instructor-led training. All right. The last thing to take a look at in the ILT section that I mentioned is the settings. If you go here, this is something that only a user with administrative privileges are allowed to set up for the organization. But in this case, the admin's able to go in and link the Zoom account so that instructor-led trainings that are scheduled and have attendees are going to run through that Zoom account that has been linked. Last thing to take a look at briefly is the reports, which we'll take a look at our reports here, which we're going to look just at the LMS reports, but we can see just quick at a glance the user reports where we're able to filter this or sort by courses completed, not started, past due, and so on. So we've been using Simon as an example. Let's take a look at Simon's user report, where we're able to see what LMS courses he is enrolled in. Again, completion certificates, start dates, due dates, etc. All of our reports can also be exported using the export button at the top right corner of the reports pages, which will allow you to export whatever page you're looking at into either a PDF or Excel file.